for all of the blessings that you've poured upon me and my family. And I'm including this family as my family. And I thank you also that you've let me know fairly succinctly that you have a purpose for me here in this family, a purpose for me in your kingdom. And I believe, and so I'm thanking you for it, that you've also poured out some authority to go along with that purpose. And I'm also thanking you for the guidance and directions that comes along with it as well. And I pray this knowing that the Holy Spirit is within me and that my Lord is with me as well and that I'm with him. Thank you, mighty God. Amen. So Patty likes titles. I don't really care about titles. But Patty likes titles, so I put a title together today. So this has got a title, and it's got a subtitle. Okay, so often when we're listening to a motivational speaker, they'll tell us, you have to believe it before you can see it. And they're talking about in the natural, and I'm not. So, you guys should be aware. We've been talking about it for a long time. There are three kinds of law that most of us have been subject to most of our life, right? All right. With that in mind, we're trying to help you understand this one doesn't have any part in your life. Here is the religious law that you need to consider. There's nothing else. There's nothing else there. And any time that you have religious law brought into your life, and by the way, forgive me for any misspellings if I did, because I don't have my piece of paper to look over. It's behind me. Anytime religious law comes into your life, comes in for one purpose: to control you, to direct your actions according to the perpetrator of the law. Don't care where it came from, don't care who it came from, don't care how they are pretending or believing that they're approaching you. It comes for only one reason, and that's control. What did Jesus say about that? He said, I came to set the captive free. Who are the captives? Us. We're all to be set free. Freedom. That's what he came for, not control. We're subject to civil law. And where you are in the world will determine the kind of civil law to which you're subject. Do you know that our jurisprudence system is really different than some of the other countries? In France, if you're accused, they go on the assumption that you're guilty. In the United States, they say, oh, well, we're going on the assumptions that you're innocent until we prove your guilt. That's a real different way of looking. But that's dependent on what your civil authority is, where you are, how they're going to deal with that. You know, there are a lot of variables there. For the most part, we're all going to obey the law, because if you choose to say, I'm no longer subject to the civil law, I'm going to drive 120 miles from Bend to Redmond to get to church on time because I left home a little early or a little late. Texting all the while. Thank you, my dear. Amen. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. uh, but guess what? You know, here's the real bottom line. The natural laws persist no matter what. You try and break the law of gravity, and guess what it's going to tell you? Splat. I can fly in and of my own abilities. Good luck with that. I don't know if I'd even have much style. You would know. You've heard me do that. Let me talk about a few natural laws. How about the law of planetary motion? Guess what? Most of us, I think, have seen the movie The Jerusalem Star. So what? The Bethlehem Star. Thank you. So guys, as I veer off course, keep me correctly on. Thank you. The Bethlehem Star, and the individual who's narrating is not an astronomer. He's an attorney, a lawyer who got interested. But one of the things that he brings out is that all that we can see through the astronomical calculations using the newest apps that run those calculations through the computer shows that all the stars move in a clockwork fashion. From the beginning to the end, they can be positioned if you know the date, the time, and the location on Earth. The app can say, the star's over there. Exactly because it's all clocked. Guess what? Our God's visionary. Our God's visionary, and you got to remember that because I'm going to come back to that. But we know our God's visionary because if he wasn't visionary, you can't even imagine how much chaos there would be out in the universe where those stars are. But there isn't. It's all put together. Here's another law. I'm going to write this one down because it's an important one. Three laws, thermodynamics. You guys may or may not know about them. It's not important if you really do, but let me give you the bottom line on the three laws of thermodynamics. This is what they say. You can't win the game. You can't even break even. And you can't get out of it. No, that's really what they say. It sounds a little bit of a downer, but I'm going to show you how that's not true. It's really not a downer, but that's what it says. The first law, you can't win the game. That comes from Einstein's law of the conservation of energy and matter. Yeah. Okay, we learned about that. Energy equals matter times the speed of light squared. How we figured that out, I don't have a clue. What it really means, I don't really know. I mean, I can write the equation, and that's as far as I'm getting into that particular stuff. But what it says is matter and energy stay balanced. You can go from more energy, but then you have less matter. You can go to more matter, but then you have less energy, which means that you can't really win. You can't get a greater amount of one or the other without getting a lesser amount of one or the other. And then the next law, which is you can't break even, is real simple. It's chaos theory, which says everything degrades over time. Everything degrades over time. Everything. It doesn't matter what it is. In order for something to not degrade, you have to put more energy into it to keep it. You can grow, and once energy quits going in, you're going to die. It's real simple. It's real simple. I mean, it's the law. We don't have any choice there. And the last one, you can't get out of it. Guess what? We are all in this natural universe. We're subject to the natural universe. Give me just a second. I got to cool down. I am blessed that my wife actually checks me out before I leave the house to say or okay. No, seriously, if you guys would see me some of the times I leave the house without a wife's checkup, you would understand the need. Hi, Becca. You want to come up here? You can give part of this message. So here's some things that we know from the Bible that are natural laws. We often talk about them as spiritual principles. Doesn't matter what you call them. It's still the law. Seasons. Winter is followed by spring. Spring is followed by summer. Summer is followed by fall. How do we know that? We live through it. Every year we live through it. How do we know it's always going to be there? Speak it loud. How do we know? God said. When? What was happening? What was happening? After the flood, he made a promise. And he said, I'm giving you this rainbow as a covenant to my promise. Not been rescinded. Nope, not been rescinded. That's a natural law. You're going to have summer after spring. Here's another natural law. What you sow, so shall you harvest. To the amount that you sow, to the, and this is important, to the focus that you sow. Because the next law that goes along with that vision. Jesus gave a lot of parables about vision. Didn't use the word vision, but they were about vision. Let me use a real simple one that goes back to sowing and harvesting. So out of Mark chapter 13, toward the beginning, like, what, Mike? Verse 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there, where he's talking about the parable of the sower. The sower goes out and sows. Where does the sower sow? Unfortunately, it's haphazard sowing. We know it's haphazard sowing because of where the seed lands. You know, some of the seed lands on the rocky soil. Some of the seed lands on the path and gets trampled. Some of the seed lands in the thorns. But some of the seed lands in good soil. Yeah, woohoo, if you planned it. Here's the thing. A gardener or a farmer doesn't go out and sow haphazardly. How many of us have ever run a garden? Did you just go out and throw your seeds anywhere? No, you made a plan. You set up a place to put these and a place to put those, and these are companion plants to those, and next year I plant these over there because they're a succession plant that comes after that. You know, peas, put nitrogen in the soil. All that stuff has to go in. But guess what? Before you ever start, what comes into effect first? You have to have the vision. You have to have the vision before you can ever accomplish anything. Let me tell you a story about vision. Happened twice in my life. Surprisingly, I never expected it to really happen once. I just threw it out, and it worked. So I threw it out again, and I'm told it worked. It's like, wow. So a young lady came to me, and we're talking, and I'd already been married with my wife for a number of years, and she said, you know, I really would like a husband, and I've been praying for a husband for a long time. I said, cool. What does your husband look like? She says, I'm waiting for God to show me that. I'm waiting for God to bring that husband so I'll know what he looks like. Oh, so how does he think? What does he like to do? And I went through this whole litany of questions like, who is he? And she says, I don't know. And she says, well, how do you expect God to know? Why don't you tell God what you're looking for? Why don't you write it down? He's 6 foot tall. I was just making these things up. And this is what I said, as much as I can remember. He's 6 foot tall. He's blonde. And he loves the outdoors. He's a generous person. And I don't even remember. I went through and answered all of the questions that I had asked her. Just made them up. And she nodded her head on some things and shook her head on some other things. I said, that's fine. Don't worry about what I'm saying. You write it down. 6 months later, she came back to me and she said, we're getting married. I said, what? He said, as soon as I told God what he looked like, as soon as I determined who I wanted, God sent him. Like, wow. Wow. Vision. She believed it when she saw it. Now, that's a spiritual law. Here's the natural law. You will see it once you believe it. Until you have the vision, until you put it up in front of you, until you actually function as though it were real, it will not become real. So let me ask you, on your prayers, how many of you are praying haphazardly? How many of you are praying and saying, Lord, I just want to be healed. I'm tired. I just want to be healed and healthy. Consider, maybe you should pray more focused. Lord, my back hurts. I know that it hurts for whatever reason. I've been doing something poorly and or improperly or whatever. I don't know what it is, but I want you to identify that for me. And then, Lord, I want you to give me the strength to make a change in my life so that that pain in my back will be gone. Until that time, Lord, I want you to give me peace that I am working through the pain to health. And then I want you to help me to develop the habits and disciplines in my life so that never comes again. And I'm trusting you that you're going to work with me on this, Lord, and I am going to work with you as well. That's a much more focused prayer. Now, yours may not have to be that specific. It may have to be more specific. So you're praying, Lord, you know my financial need. I'm out of money, need to pay my bills. I just need a better job. What, in your mind, constitutes a better job? Well, seriously, you got to think about that. I could use more hours where I'm currently working. Okay, so I'm only working part-time, 10, 15, 20, 30 hours. I'm working full-time 40 hours. I'm willing to put in a few extra hours, and that overtime would be all it would take. Make your prayer specific. Lord, I have particular gifts that I'm not using in my current job. And the earnings that I'm making are not sufficient to cover all my needs and wants and desires. And here are some of the things that I am not meeting in my needs, and here are some of the things I want to have, and here are my desires for the future. And Lord, here are the giftings that I have that I'm not using. And I really would appreciate if you would find that job for me and put it into my future within the next month. Let's get specific, God. I want somebody to come and talk to me next week about this job, and I'm going to be working there before the end of the month. And I want to be earning this much money. And I will give this into it. I don't know what you're going to do to fill in all the blanks along that. But you need to fill them in. And in fact, I can't fill them in for you. And in fact, God loves you so much, and He honors your vision so much, He's not going to fill them in for you either. Come on, God, just do it for me. Oh, has nobody else ever prayed like that? Really? Am I the only one? Okay. But I have prayed like that. God, just do it for me. Just put that vision in me, in and of yourself. No, Marcus. That's yours. I'm not going to take that from you. I love you. I want to partner with you in your vision. I'm not real good at that. Get better. Hey, seriously. You tell God, I'm not real good at that, and God says, get better. God never says, that's okay, you don't have to do it. You know how I learned that here in this body, in this family? I go up to Mike and I say, Mike, I got this great idea. And Mike says, good, go do it. Mike, I wanted you to say, yeah, let's find somebody to do it. Or let's get together a committee. But no, Mike just says, yeah, go do it. I said, well, I don't know how. Just learn. Mm-hmm. Hey, his son is agreeing with me. Mm-hmm. Learn. He says, that's all right. As you stumble through your learning, we'll be there to support you. We'll lift you back up. It's like, right, so you get to see me fall, lift me back up, and I get to stumble forward and fall again. He says, sure, no big deals. Look, here. Fortunately, it is no big deals. Who's had a vision for their life that they've put on the back burner? You know how you get from the vision to the reality? It's a process. It's a process. First of all, you have to. This is all part of this natural law. And unfortunately, you can't get out of it. So you're going to have to be stuck with it. So here's your choice. You can put the vision on the back burner, and your subconscious is going to cry every day when you get up. Whether you know it or not, it's true. It's going to. Or you can consciously and actively work to bring your vision into reality. First thing you do, identify your vision. How do you do that? Take a little bit of time. I don't care how much time yours takes. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a week. You have to go on a retreat and you go up to the mountain and you sit on top of the mountain with those little tiny half-naked guys and you eat rice and drink water, and I don't care what it takes. Spend the time to get your vision clear in your mind. Second, write it down. Because until you write it down, it's just a dream. A visionary imagines how things should be. That's how it should be. Nothing's ever been done that the vision didn't come first. How many of you drove a car? Ever? Guess what? You wouldn't be driving a car if somebody didn't have a vision of a horseless carriage. Somebody did. They said, we should have a carriage without a horse. I'm going to make one. And now we drive cars, we don't even think about it. But in the process of coming up with the car, they had to do a lot of other development. Visionary imagines how things should be and pays little regard to how they actually are or are likely, in fact, to be. This reality as we see it is irrelevant. I see a future that's relevant, and I will work to achieve that. What did Gandhi say? He said, become the change you want to see. So here's what I tell you. You want change in your life? Learn how to change your mind. Because currently your mind is saying, that can't happen. That's too much out of my means and abilities and skills and energies. And change your mind. If you're telling yourself that, it's your own fault. Once you've got your vision, you've written it out, it can, not it will, but it can become a goal. Here's what makes it go from a dream, a vision, to a goal. You've written it down. You've made it specific. You've put some time elements to it. You've determined what it's going to cost you to do it. You develop a plan and you review it regularly. I am going to be a speaker, able to talk in front of large audiences to the tune of hundreds and thousands of people without my hands going up there and shaking every single time. In order to be able to do that, and I want to be able to do that within the next year, I'm going to take every opportunity that I have to speak in front of a group, however big, however small, whatever the subject, it doesn't matter. I'm going to practice. And then I'm going to take those ideas or those concepts of which they want me to speak, and I am going to learn them well before I go out there so I'm confident in my knowledge. See, that was one of my goals once upon a time. I said, I need to be able to do this. Therefore, I'm going to be able to do this because I'm going to work on making it happen. That was not who I was. That was not who I was. And the first time I'm shaking pretty bad. I'm not kidding you. I never wet my pants, but it got pretty close. And sorry if I scared you there. Sometimes you got to spread yourself that thin and push yourself that hard in order to accomplish that thing. Ed, have you ever gone to a building project and started work without the vision? Okay, Ed, what do they call the vision on a building project? Absolutely. How often do you refer to the blueprints? Sometimes every hour, sometimes more often. Sometimes you're looking at them constantly through the day. You've got them in your hand, and things are just so complex that you've got to be looking at them every few minutes. Is that not true? What's that? You can too, but it's not going to end up the vision that the architect or the owner and the architect develop. You can wing it. Sure you can. Okay. But there's a vision. That's a natural start. And then there's a plan. And you know what? The place where most of us fall down is we don't put the plan in place. Or we don't work the plan. We're unwilling to give what the plan requires. Dreams are something you think about. Goals require action. Dreams can happen without lifting a finger. Any of you had any of those dreams? Didn't lift a finger. You're just laying there. Idea floated through. You had the dream. Yeah. Goals have a cost. Sometimes it's energy. Sometimes it's money. Sometimes it's time. Almost always it's a matter of you changing your mind to believe. But sometimes it's a matter of changing your habits. Becoming disciplined. Goals produce results. Dreams don't. But dreams have some value. Dreams can inspire you. But guess what? Goals can change your life. Dreams stretch your imagination. And some of us need our imagination stretched. We need to be able to imagine more than we're currently imagining. We need to be able to imagine in greater detail. We need to be able to imagine to a more focused outcome. We need to be able to stretch our imagination. But goals stretch you. They increase your skills, they increase your abilities, and they change you forever. Now, last Sunday, Patty was talking about reaping and sowing, and she was using the concept of eating your seed that was supposed to be used in the sowing. And instead, expecting God, through that $2 bill, to come in and provide you with adequate seed to then be able to sow and harvest. Guess what? That's a teeny tiny mindset in terms of looking at sowing and harvesting. If you want to reap a harvest, you need to have an idea in the beginning, before you ever started going out to sow, of what you want to harvest. Let's go back to that garden. This year, I told my wife, she told me, we agreed, no more random volunteer sunflowers. Cut them out. So as they're coming up, and she had a couple years ago some incredible volunteer sunflowers. She put them on Facebook. She sent pictures out in the emails to friends, family, etc. Some of those sunflowers were 13 feet tall with 50 and 60 blossoms on a stalk. Never seen anything like that in my life. It was amazing. Unfortunately, they took up about an eighth of my garden. It's like, well, I can't really eat the sunflowers. And you can, but I don't. I mean, it's just too much effort. It's just too much effort. I'm just going to go down and buy the shelled sunflower nuts, and I'm good with that. But it fed the birds, and the birds came in and got a lot of benefit from them, and we got an enjoyment from watching the birds come in. So there was some benefit in the long run, but it was small compared to what I was really hoping for. So this year, no more sunflowers that are volunteers. We established 3 specific areas where we're going to plant sunflowers and sunflowers only, and we're going to let them do what they want there. That's it. But we also said, the few little potatoes that we got last year, they were fabulous. We really like fresh, new potatoes. We just like potatoes anyway. I mean, okay. Mike's got a bacon fetish. Anyone else got a potato fetish? All right, so you understand. We planted a fourth of the garden in potatoes this year. I think Mike would go the other way. I will sprinkle some potatoes on my bacon. You're good with that too, right, Ed? Okay, that's good. My point is, we knew how much space we had to grow. We had a vision of what we wanted to harvest. We put it down on paper. We drew it all out. Then we started looking at which are the companion plants. What things can we plant near to each other? What things cannot be near each other? They're combative. What things can we plant over and over and over through the year so that we get a harvest? Last year, I planted my radishes 4 times. I got a quadruple harvest of radishes. I was thrilled. I could have had more had I started earlier, but I didn't believe that spring was here when it really was. Sometimes, even if you've been here a long time, you get surprised. But we made a plan based on the available space, the things we wanted to grow, the knowledge that we had gained in looking at how the plants react together. And then we made a commitment that we would start some of those plants early in the house under a grow light. There's a cost. Another cost was taking the time to actually learn about companion plants and combative plants and succession planting. And then the planting that you do year after year and the planting that you have to change from place to place. There's a word for that too. I just forgot it. Rotation. Yes. And we followed those things as we were putting our plan together. And now we're into the next piece. So now the cost is we got to water. We got to watch the plants. We got to weed around them. We got to water them. Some of them are going to need a little bit of shade. Some need a little bit of protection when the nights get too cold. All you who have been gardeners understand all of those little elements. You just do them as part of the plan. You can ignore them. Good luck with that. I intend to harvest so much that just like last year and the year before, I have to bring it here and share it with you guys because I can't give it away to my neighbors enough because they're tired of getting all that extra food that my garden is producing. And if I leave one more zucchini on their doorstep, they're going to come over and murder me in my sleep. Have you ever been in a neighborhood where all the zucchinis are ripe and producing, and you got to get rid of them, but nobody wants them because they have their own? The harvest is ripe. At that point, the harvest just needs more of the people to go out and harvest. Jesus had that vision too. He said the harvest is ripe. And guess what? He sent out 12 guys who shared that vision, and they converted the entire world in which they lived at that time. Paul says that. He says, have we not gone to all the ends of the earth? Meaning all the ends of the Roman Empire at that time. Have we not gone to all the ends of the earth and brought the message? And has it not been received? Paul claimed that. Guess what? We got to believe that because look at what happened. All of those paganistic religions that they used to have in every single community had their own. Where are they? Hardly ever hear about any of them anymore. Any of them. But the facilities are still there. Guess what happened to the facilities? They got repurposed. They're now Christian. So some retained some of their pagan rites, incorporated them in. They're still Christian. They still made a change. Jesus' vision is simple. The whole earth. The whole earth. That's everybody. It's all of us. All of those yet to come. Paul agrees with him. He said, he died for all. That all might die with him, that all might rise with him. All. That's all that were then, all that were to come, all that had already died. Say that again. Wasn't, is, and is to come. God's not the least bit concerned with those, it's already happened, limitations. Even pre-existing, he said, that's good. Jesus had a goal. He was willing to set a plan in place. He agreed with his Father on that plan. He walked the plan. He paid the price for the plan because he had a vision of the outcome. We're living through that outcome. I mean, I've thrown these numbers out in the past. Let me throw them out again. At the time that Jesus was on the earth with the disciples in Judea, about 1 in 3,500 people knew the message. What's that percentage? Somebody who can give me numbers. I mean, it's like, well, it's like 1/10 of 1,000th of 1%. I mean, it's tiny, tiny, tiny. Now, we've only seen a couple thousand years since then, but guess what? That number has gone from 1 in about 3,000 8,500 to 1 in 3. You put that on a graph and you chart that, and it looks like this. That's a cool graph. Check those numbers out someday. Do the graphing on your own. You will be amazed. When's Jesus coming back? 1 in 1. He's looking for a world where no matter where he appears, he's going to be at home because the culture will be the culture of the kingdom. He had a vision. We're still part of the working of that vision. It's still moving forward. What's your vision? Within the kingdom vision, God has still said, Cherie, I want to hear your vision. You need a vision. You need a vision. Scott, every one of us needs a vision. Do you know why? Because a people without a vision will perish. Say that singular. A person without a vision will perish. Ooh, that's harsh. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's a natural law. It's harsh. But remember the 3 laws of thermodynamics. You can't win. You can't break even. You can't get out. You're stuck with it. You better embrace it. Here's the cool news. God said, I'll help you achieve your vision. All you have to do is establish your vision. And then as you work toward it, I'll work with you. Religious laws are done. Civil laws are dependent on your location and your time in history. But the natural laws will never change. They'll never go away. You need to be embracing. Your vision always will take you back to the process of sowing and harvesting, because you have to sow into your vision on a regular basis. That's the law. If you ignore it, good luck with that. I'll believe it when I see it. The vision is when you see it. Here's the cool thing. God said, if you see it, that will give you faith to believe it. Once you believe it, then you can achieve it. But you have to have the vision first. You got to put the vision up there. Your vision pulls you forward with your faith that God gives you. You each have that within you. So if you're not living the life you really want, revision your life. Is it easy? No. Can it change your life? Yeah. But like I said earlier on, in order for you to change your life, you have to be able to change your mind. Because wherever you are, it's because of the mindset you're in right now. God didn't say you're limited there. I'm not giving you anything more. God just said, I'm going to give you to the extent of your vision. Why do some people have so much more? They got a bigger vision. Maybe I have to become more disciplined. No, maybe about it, I have to become more disciplined. Maybe what you're having to say to yourself. But if I want my vision, I have to be willing to pay the price. Lord, I'm so grateful that you give us power to establish our own vision. And then you are willing to partner with us to achieve our visions. Holy Spirit, awaken each and every one of us to our real vision. Whatever we've been living that is less than our real vision, give us an awareness, a revelation that that is not our limiting place in life. And Jesus, as we walk with you every day, let us know that you are lifting us up as we stumble along the way, making mistakes as we're heading toward our vision, but that you're with us so that as your vision comes to pass, so too ours can. Lord, fill us with energy as we go through the week. Fill us with strength. And lift us all, each and every one, up